Hi everyone, welcome to this live interview. I have the pleasure and honor to talk to Tony today, which I'm really excited about. So welcome to this session. We're going to talk about some really exciting stuff. But before we dive in, welcome Tony. And would you like to give a brief intro about who you are? I'm actually quite sure most of our members have already seen your profiles and your name quite often, but for those who don't know you yet.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I was telling you before we started recording, I think you do so much good work for writers, and that's so important.
Thank you.
I have my hands in a lot of things, but I think the overall thing is like I see my job as helping people level up. So that's why I'm here. You have writers who are trying to level up, and it doesn't really even matter to me like where you are in your career. To help a beginner level up is as gratifying as to help someone further along. And so, but it's funny to like consider whether or not people know who I am, because on the one hand, I'm probably Medium's biggest and most involved external partner. But on the other hand, I often am working behind the scenes. And so even when I email my own team, like we have a big copy editing team, I often preface my emails by introducing myself, because they don't talk to me every day. And I just feel like, oh, you haven't heard from me in a couple months. I should explain who I am. So, but I'm wearing a Medium sweatshirt.
Oh yeah,
so
right.
This is like, this is
Not
how
many people have that one.
Right. I love it. But I got started with Medium probably in the very beginning because I shared office space with them. I mean, and Medium CEO was my boss in 2005. He's been one of my investors for a company I started. We just, I kind of got that like insiders. Originally, this insider is like, hey, I need friends to check this out and see if it's cool. And that led to Better Humans, which is now like maybe the 5th or 6th biggest active site on Medium right now. And I think a really powerful force for personal development. And that's like probably the most core thing I'm doing on Medium to my job, which is, as I said, helping people level up. And originally it fit with this company I built, this coaching platform, Coach.me, and we had the coaches as our writers. And I thought, well, this is so good. Like the coaches are learning the lessons from their clients, and that now they have a place to share those lessons. And so when Medium went to subscriptions, again, it's like when you're getting something off the ground, you always rely on your friends. And so Ev asked me, he said, you're doing a good job with Better Humans. Do you think you could do more? And so literally we published our first commissioned article in Better Humans 7 days after subscriptions launched. So this is like maybe 3 years ago. And like, again, like, so we're just there on day one. And I always see my job for Medium, like why Medium keeps coming back is they want people who are kicking the tires and experimenting on stuff early on. And so like I'm always thinking, well, where is Medium going, or where should it go, and how could I demonstrate how someone could use the new features? Because that's why I keep getting opportunities to do more and more at Medium. And so Better Humans turned into Better Programming, which was like, when Medium moved to subscriptions, some of their big programming publications just didn't fit anymore, didn't want to go in that direction. They'd rather be ad supported, or they'd rather be completely free. And so they needed someone to jump in and do that well. And I actually used to work for a tech publisher a long time ago. And along the way, Better Marketing, which I think is also this like incredibly powerful force for people that are trying to, a lot of times like a business and entrepreneurship is about living out a dream and leveling yourself up, and to be independent, to get like something you built out into the world. So who am I? I do those 3 things, and then it's like I just kind of have to keep listing stuff, because I also write. I had like this one mega hit 2 million views on this iPhone article I wrote. But the thing about 2 million views is it took me 2 years to write that article. So this is like a thing that'll come up.
It's huge, right?
It's a very long article.
I think I read that article like years ago. When was that published?
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, yeah. And how much? What's the read time of that article? Do you
75 minutes. 75 minutes.
So just to give a perspective, that's kind of crazy, for Medium standards.
Yeah. And then also I've been working on partnerships, just a temporary role, but I wanted to, again, just show what's possible. And I wanted to round out, I wanted to show how you could do partnerships to make a section of Medium or a topic within Medium like really must have. Like it's super obvious why you would subscribe. And so I helped broker the deal that brought the Pragmatic programmers onto Medium. And so I hope we get to talk about that, not so much about programming, but about what should writers be shooting for. And what I like about what the Pragmatic programmers did for Medium is now programming authors have this career ladder where like we've already had a better programming author sign a book deal with the Pragmatic programmers. And so it's like, now I'm imagining this person who shows up at Medium and learns how to be a programmer and then starts writing what they've learned and like what they're working on, works their way into better programming, and then develops an expertise and then becomes a book author. Like there's this whole ladder, career ladder that's possible there. And that, again, that goes back to leveling up. That's what gets me excited. So that's a very long answer to who am I.
Yeah, but I think that's interesting to see the whole range, So you've been on Medium very early on. You mentioned Eve was your boss, right?
In 2005, yeah.
Where was that?
This podcasting startup, Odeo. I was the VP of engineering, so Ev was my boss.
Oh.
And then one of my engineers was this guy, Jack Dorsey. And we were failing, and we went and we said, hey, does anyone have any good ideas? And Jack Dorsey was like, yeah, we got this idea for this thing that ended up being Twitter. So so I worked with Ev and Jack when we launched Twitter, basically.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you've been on the journey on Medium, actually, from the very beginning. You've built and scaled or hired the right people to scale, better humans, better marketing, better programming. Coach Me is also a huge platform. For me, it was always like very prominent because I'm active in personal development and coaching. Do you want to give a quick insight in what Coach Me is and how you combine Coach Me and better humans in your business?
And these things end up just. I mean, Coach Me is a place. If you're a coach, it's like tools and training and clients often to grow your business. Like if you're a coach, our goal is to help you grow your business. And if you're not a coach, if you're a client, our job is to connect you with a good coach who's going to help you achieve your goals. So it's a platform that way. Just to like take it out of the realm of like mission and purpose, I just have this practical concern. How do I grow a business, right? And how do I do it? How do I have control over growing it? And I just saw this potential to use Medium to have this incredible mouthpiece. And the thing that appealed to me is that I could do marketing based on being helpful. I mean, this is the thing we tell our coaches all the time, always be coaching, because they get tripped up trying to be a salesperson. They think sales is skeezy. And I get it. And, a coach's mindset, my mindset is to always be helping people. And so if I can do this publication that's helping people and that's their first contact with me, then I feel good about it and that's the type of marketing and promotion that I always feel the best about. So that's how they fit together. And then it just sort of it kind of grew organically in that the publishing was so successful that the publishing side of the business just spun out its own things, and then suddenly you have people on the publishing side that are like doing side projects that have nothing to do with coaching but really help publishing. And just because I encourage that kind of experimentation, it's going to come out that we're really, I haven't even like, there's more even that we're doing than I've mentioned.
That's awesome. From like your journey with Medium and as a publication owner was totally different than most people who have started publications in the past few years. But I know that a lot of our members don't fully understand what the benefit of running a publication is business-wise, like how they could turn a publication into a sustainable business or part of a business.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a few insights into how you see that, like from the perspective of someone who might start this year or started just last year? How can a publication fit into a bigger picture?
Yeah, I think most publications are attached to a side business, and I think in order to be competitive, you kind of have to be that, because otherwise, what's sort of like paying for all of the work? And so I think most people have a training business on the side. We're sort of a little bit lucky. Not lucky. I mean, lucky is part of it, but it's also, I guess, I mean, our editors did a lot to earn this. We also have partnerships with Medium. So Medium basically has two types of publishers on its platform. It has completely independent publishers who have no relationship with Medium, particularly beyond, the terms of service. And then they have these partners that they've gone and helped professionalize the publication. And so all three of our publications have partnerships where we share in the earnings, like what the authors make. We make a portion above that, much smaller than the authors, but enough to pay for an editorial team. And that's part of Medium's investment in editorial. I mean, we're going to get into Medium's big announcement, but it doesn't. I saw that announcement as they were moving money from one area to another, not that they were pulling back from investing, that they found better ways to spend that money. And so we've been one of those ways where we get paid by Medium, but even we feel like it's not really big enough unless we also have a side business. So, the possible side businesses are training, coaching, events. Those are the obvious ones. I think for better marketing, we want to build up a community there. And for Better Humans, we see it as very attached to the Coach.me business. Even it might not be super obvious to the reader, but there's a bunch of overlaps between them. And for Better Programming, we're not sure what the side business is going to be. And so far, the main purpose for Better Programming has just kind of been to be a glue for the overall community of programming authors and programming readers on Medium. But that's the main thing, is it really helps to have a side business. So that's what I see most people doing.
Awesome. You already mentioned the pragmatic programmer, and I'm not sure if a lot of people actually realize that was actually launched and that it happened. So I know what you did there, but for those who didn't see the announcements, do you want to give a quick insight into what it actually is, the whole program, and whether you see that happening more frequently on Medium? So do you think that's something that might happen in other areas as well?
It should. I might go like back a bit, because I think this is so important and people don't get it. Like, for whatever reason, there's this completely bogus media narrative that Medium pivots. And like, I seem like I'm the only person on the planet that thinks that Medium is completely and utterly predictable. And it's because I see that they made one pivot 3 years ago towards a subscription business. And then literally everything they've done since then, to me, has been eminently predictable, which is, now that they have a subscription business and they believe in a subscription business, they have to figure out how to make that subscription worthwhile. And so, you know, if you read the announcements about kind of they bought out a lot of their internal editorial staff because those publications were not contributing significantly to the subscription growth. Great. Like everyone knew that. Everyone's known that for months, maybe more than a year. So to me, I was sad. I felt bad. I have, you know, friends, actually, like one of my best friends in New York is affected by this, and I feel really bad for that. But it's also, to me, it wasn't surprising. And so then, you know, what is Medium going to do? And like, just to be completely transparent about the Pragmatic programmers, but where it started is a conversation. What would it take to make a must-have subscription for programmers? So programmers tend to come to Medium right now because Google sends them, like, to get their work done. They're searching for answers to the questions. They keep showing up on Medium. Sometimes they get the right answer, sometimes they don't. It's fine. A lot of them subscribed, but for the most part, they weren't going around telling their friends, this is the best subscription in the world. And so this is, I mean, I think this is relevant to everyone listening, is what are you doing that's going to make a reader say, oh, I want to subscribe to Medium, and I'm going to tell my friends, oh, I subscribe to Medium for this reason, right? Maybe you're not ready to do that as a writer on day one. I mean, there is like a whole career ladder, but like, I think that has to be in the back of everyone's mind. How do you work yourself up to that level of being subscription worthy? So anyways, the way we answered this for the programming is that we need headliners. Like, it was just like, we need to be able to tell a programmer, hey, for $5 a month, you get this, and then this, and then this. And so I just, like, I knew, I think I had good contacts in tech publishing already, because I had used to work for one a long time ago. And so I reached out to this one publisher that I thought really fit kind of the Medium ethos, and I thought it'd be a real win-win, and it was a really easy deal to do. Like, literally, I cold emailed them the terms of the deal. I said, if this sounds good to you, I think there's something to do here. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. So so now in this topic area, you have a headliner, and also you have a ladder for all of our authors who might be, you know, who might write independently, might work their way into better programming, and work their way up to having a book deal. I love that, because I think too many authors have gotten stuck on Medium with, like, well, they won Medium, but then where do you go? So anyways, the Pragmatic programmers are a book publisher. They brought 140 books on. All their upcoming books are going to show up here, and all of their authors are going to come and participate in the community as well. And they're going to recruit from better programming and towards data science and the other publications as well. So it's like a huge upgrade for the ecosystem. And, you know, to be honest, this is the thing I've heard about the Mediums owned and operated, is they never felt fully integrated into the ecosystem, right? It's like suddenly a bunch of outsiders came, and the platform authors didn't feel as recognized. I know as a publisher, the Medium Twitter account used to promote Better Humans articles and then stopped. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you don't love us anymore? I mean, they kept paying us, but then they stopped promoting us, and it was a really weird feeling. And I think that, you know, I just think Medium has gotten smarter. That, you know, a deal like the Pragmatic programmers, like, just fits in terms of, like, winning a market, and fits the overall ecosystem so much better. It was actually more cost effective than starting something from scratch. So I think what we're doing in programming is hopefully a playbook for other topics. It's not necessarily a book publisher, but the idea that you got to have a headliner in every topic, and then you got to take that topic over the finish line so that people look at it and go, yeah, like, I'm a marketer, there's a reason to be here. Or you know, I don't know, whatever, you know. I know that the poets wish Medium was better, but, you know, it's like, I think the poets need to tell Medium, this is what turns Medium into a must-have subscription for people who love poetry. Yeah.
That's a nice point, actually. I love what you mentioned earlier, saying, you also, as a writer, you can write in a way asking yourself that question, like, why should somebody pay the $5 per month just to see my work? And it's not just your work, but your goal should be to make it worth paying the $5. And in the best case, it's going to be word of mouth wise, that they share your article with their friends, and their friends subscribe because they want to be able to access the content as well. And keeping that in mind can really have a huge impact. And I as a writer, I feel like asking yourself that question also helps you to come up with titles and ideas that have a broad appeal and that can spark the interest of someone in a topic, even if they have never thought of that topic before. So I think
Exactly.
that's really nice. The just something on the side, the authors from Pragmatic Programmer that have the books that they now brought to Medium, will they, or are they also publishing short form articles on the platform?
They will. So my understanding is the Pragmatic Programmers are in the process of hiring a full-time editor for their Medium publication, which is part of why we like them. They really wanted to invest in the community, and that one of the roles there will be onboarding their authors, getting their authors publishing more, but not just for the Pragmatic Programmers. I expect to see those authors throughout the whole platform. Writing for better programming, writing when appropriate towards data science, which probably most people listening here aren't programmers, right? That so you might not realize how big these two publications are. Towards data science does like 20 million page views a month. It is like by far the biggest publication on Medium, and better programming is a fraction of that.
Do you have any insight into how many of those views are internal versus external? Because as you mentioned, I think that's with programmers, that's really the case, that they're looking for a specific solution and they just end up on Medium because there's so much content available.
Yeah, it's a topic that does well with SEO. And, I think also, again, I'm always asking, what are you doing that justifies a subscription? And in programming, I understand how SEO justifies a subscription, because programmers need to get their answers done to get their jobs done, or get their questions answered in order to get their jobs done.
Yeah.
And so, if Medium has a huge corpus of SEO, then that actually is probably enough to justify the subscription. And it has been. It's been a really big topic area for people for growth in the subscriptions. But then, it's like, then you want to push it over the top, like make it easy to explain to other people. And I see Medium as going to be, I assume Medium, I mean, I don't, it's not as imminent as maybe I would want, but all of my understanding is that this will happen everywhere. Like because it has to happen. Like, how else are you going to make a subscription work? I mean, you have to, like, at some point it has to be great. And again, to go back to this idea that Medium is not pivoting, it's an old company, it's 9 years old, but the subscription is only 3 years old. And that's how I like to look at it, is like, this is a 3-year-old business. And of course, they're still figuring stuff out, but they're super committed to making it work. And I think super committed too to just this vision that subscription and paying a little bit is a way out of the kind of the ad-supported world, which, we've seen basically the limits of how good that can get. And I know I write a lot differently if I'm writing for someone who's already paid, right? If I'm not writing for someone who's already paid, I'm just like, I'm hoping to just move them on to the next step of the funnel. But it's nice to when the writing is the product rather than marketing for some other product.
That's an exciting point that you mentioned. around, the partner program is just 3 years old. Medium itself is 9 years old, because one of the questions I wanted to discuss is where you see Medium as a whole within the next 5 years, which has become an even more exciting question now with the latest announcements. But maybe let's answer that question first. Like, where do you see Medium in 5 years from now? And then touch on some of the announcements of yesterday.
So,
how do you think it will evolve for publications, for individuals?
Yeah.
And for readers especially?
I think you can kind of like play the tape forward on a couple of things that they're doing. I mean, the first is what we were just talking about, how to win individual topic areas, like really make something that feels must have. And I expect that's the thing that's most proven to me right now, and that I think that they'll do more of. So I think whatever you consider the big topic areas on Medium, I think that those will get pushed over, tipped over into being more compelling if you were just to pitch them to someone as like, oh, you're a designer? Oh, well, here's what's for you. Or you're an entrepreneur? Here's what's for you. And you just hear that pitch and love it. And that's what we just did for programmers. But then you start to think, well, what happens when they get to critical mass? What happens when they're bigger, much bigger, like 3, 4, 5 times bigger? What would a platform that size support? And I think that's what they're calling the relational changes. I think that's what that is kind of laying the groundwork for, is like, when can we start having really niche publications that are succeeding? Like one person, talking about triathlons, or one person talking about mobility work, or like, I don't know, it's like, whatever, we all have these hobbies, right? But right now Medium is big enough to support the big topic areas, but not quite big enough to really support these niche areas. But I think these niche areas will do really well eventually on Medium.
Let me just interrupt you here, because that's an interesting point. Actually, you mentioned that's for you what they consider the relational model, going in more depth with certain topics. That's really interesting, because I saw a lot of people discussing the relational model, and thinking that means writers should comment on other writers' articles and build relationships with readers and writers. I think that's really interesting to just emphasize here, that relational model doesn't mean that Medium necessarily wants writers to reply back to every comment they receive, etc. It's a totally different, bigger picture, and it's really nice that you've just what you've just described with the niches.
Yeah, I think of it first as a relationship with your readers. When you rely on an algorithmic distribution, which Medium does a great job of getting essentially strangers to read your stuff, well, the result is that these people don't know you. They don't have any context for you. And you can, I don't know if you've ever been called out by a reader, a lot of time, like, because I'm doing a lot of self-improvement. I'm writing with the context of all of the work I got to get here, right? Like I've helped coach thousands of people. I built a platform that helped coach thousands of people. I've helped like millions of people start habits. I've helped tens of millions of people. I've given advice to tens of millions of people. And all of those things have feedback loops. And I've run so many experiments along the way. So like when I'm saying something, I'm like, yeah, I know, because I tested it. I didn't just make this up. Right. And then you'll just get people who are really suspicious come through, have no idea who I am. And they're like, what sort of fraudulent advice is this? I was like, oh, you just don't know who I am. I mean, like actually a lot of work went into this. And that's kind of the difference, is if I could rely on a community of people who read everything that I wrote, then, there's sort of more, you're more of a relationship with the reader. But I think what you said also about relationships between authors is it's just starting to come up. I mean, Medium supports it, but it's just not part of the culture, and it should be, because how do you find out about other good writers, right? Like in the early days of blogging, we had this thing called link love. That was just a concept where we link to other people as a form of respect. And that's a lot of how blogs grew, is through the respect of their other authors. And so, if people are here looking for a concrete tip, this is one I would try, is just like really amp up the curation you do of other people. Like, use this opportunity to promote other people, to curate other people, to build up other people, because it'll be good for the readers. The readers don't know the ecosystem as much as you do, and it'll be good for your own relationships. Yeah.
One example that comes up that comes to my mind is Amardeep, who is also a moderator in our Facebook group. He is sending out, I think, a weekly newsletter, and he always features a few articles that he has recently published. And if he didn't publish a lot, or if he thinks that it's not, the best he has published yet, he just features articles of other writers that he loved. These are great ways, and it might also be a great way to get into the conversation with someone. Just, reaching out to them and telling them, hey, I'm going to do that. Is that fine for you? Do you want me to add anything else? And a lot of writers are open to that. And what I would also love to mention here is a lot of writers are alone during that process, because they start writing alone on Medium, and it's not that easy to get in touch with people. So we're all happy if we can connect with like-minded people, even if you write about totally different topics.
Right.
So we covered the reader side and kind of the relationship side of writers. Do you think in the earnings model, or in how writers will work with Medium individually, is there going to be what's your take on the next 5 years? Is there going to be a huge change? Do you think the partner program payments, as they are right now, are going to stay that way? Do you think it's going to be a shift towards a certain amount of fixed payments, or whatever other platforms are trying to do?
No. What other platforms are you thinking about? Substack?
Nothing specific. For example,
Break.
Yeah, Newsbreak, for example, that's how that's the incentive they had of a fixed pay per article. Vocal, for example, I think has. Oh no, they are focused on external views, I think.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, my understanding is you're being paid at a profit to Medium already. And so I think this is really interesting. Again, this is like, I just look at the business as the predictor of what's going to happen. So if you look at these other places and you're getting paid in some way, you got to ask, well, where's that money coming from? And is it sustainable? And if it's not sustainable, then, I mean, grab the money and run, but it's not sustainable. And the thing I would say about Medium is the part of it that's sustainable is that they're not paying you at a loss. I mean, their subscription model, I don't think is covering their operations yet, but like on an individual article that, it's a revenue share. It's a legit revenue share, and something that they could live with for a really long time. So I'm not expecting that revenue share to get squeezed significantly, maybe ever at all. But I mean, I do think that as Medium gets bigger, you'll get some people will evolve with it. And I think that's the thing that right now the incentives I think are a little bit, not just a little bit, like way too good for high volume content mills. It's like, what's my article today? What's my article today? Like, I think high volume publishing is great for new authors because you need the repetitions. But if you go back to what makes a subscription business, it's not those articles. It's the people that are really trying to develop deep expertise. And so, I think, write as much as possible when you're a beginner, but as you start to level up as a writer, you gotta focus on an expertise. And so, we talked about what makes it subscription worthy, but a real simple mental trick I use for myself as a writer is, what book would I like to publish? Why don't I just write down a table of contents and start writing that book? Or why don't I develop, the deeper ideas within the book? And if I'm writing towards a book as the next level beyond Medium, then my Medium writing gets better. And yeah, I think that's the thing that people that are successful right now, there's going to be, I think, a lot of competitive pressure on them to get better. And that's the way that earnings will change. I expect that the relational model will be better for the higher earners, because you'll develop your own audience that you can rely on, and then you can more consistently, if you can develop that audience, you'll more consistently be able to make money.
So have you written a comment or even a post about that book structure? I've seen you talking about that before, that have that book in mind that you want to write. Is that something that you are personally working on right now? Do you have a book in mind that you're working towards?
We have 2 book ideas. One, I should just write a book on habits. So on the Coach Dummy side, we've done so much work on habits, and we have our own models, and we literally run a habit coach certification over there. And so that knowledge, that research that we've done, all the testing we've done, it deserves to be a book. Then this is more experimental, but we've wondered if we could be doing more anthology books out of our publications, which is actually exactly what I'm telling authors to do. It's like, we put out, this is a thing that happened in Better Marketing, is I was like, okay, let's say I want to teach a coach how to make a business on Twitter. What articles would I pull from Better Marketing? And we didn't have the right articles. I was like, I wrote a table of contents, and then I tried to find existing articles to fit that. And I was like, oh, we don't have enough basics over here to write a book in like sort of anthology format. But we do in Better Humans have pretty good anthology level kind of stuff. Like if I do a table of contents, I can probably fill it out with the right articles. So we have a draft, literally we have a draft right now of a procrastination book that I think could be really good if hopefully Terry, the Better Humans editor, isn't watching this, because she's probably pulling her hair out, because it's all sitting on me. It's on my desk and I haven't done it. I have to give it a solid read through, but otherwise, we're going to do a book that's an anthology of our best articles. So sort of a collection of our best authors.
That's going to be a mashup of different writers who have written for Better Humans, right?
Yeah. Really
cool.
I think that could be that goes back to like always pushing the limits of what's possible. I think that could be a really fun model for a lot of publications, is to be turning their articles into anthologies, because it gives a little bit more credibility to those authors, and a little bit more distribution to those authors. And I think it seems like authors would appreciate making it to the book.
Yeah, for sure, because it's a huge dream for a lot of writers, and it's probably the first step in publishing your own book. Might be nice to get published in such a collection, even if it's just to have that credibility. So that's really cool. Looking forward to that. I hope you will share it with the community once we can purchase and read through it.
Well, I mean, I'll share the lessons, right? Like I'm in these Facebook groups, I'm in your Facebook group, really more to listen and to hear, hear what challenges authors are facing, and when I can, give some help. And so if it's successful, definitely we'll share, how we did it and why we thought it worked.
Yeah, at that point, thank you again for being part and for helping so many of our members with your really in-depth and helpful comments. I'm pretty sure I'm talking for the whole group when I say that it's really been like a lot of insights that you've shared in the past. I think it's been a few months now since you joined us. I really appreciate it. I know that our members do too. So thank you for taking the time to share your insights. That's not something that I would expect from someone like you. We all know that you're super busy, just like most of us. And really appreciate that you take the time to read through the comments and share your thoughts, opinion, and expertise here.
Well, I feel like Terry just, if she's listening, she just heard why I haven't edited the procrastination book yet. Because I'm hanging out in your Facebook group. Uh-oh.
Shall we ban you for a while so that you get the book done?
You should.
But let's talk about something that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, about the latest announcement and what it might and might not mean. I know that a lot of people get kind of scared and go a bit crazy when they hear these huge announcements, because it sounds like a lot is going to change. But I know that you have a kind of different opinion on that, and with being on Medium for years, your opinion probably matters and gives a nice perspective on the truth. Let's put it that way. So, what are your takes on Eve's last announcement from yesterday, and what do you think is it going to mean for individual writers?
Yeah, I mean, our whole team just was like shocked and worried for, I don't know, maybe an hour. And then what we came, so then, well, I'll talk about how I read the announcement. But then what we came to is that it was slightly good for us, but otherwise not that important for us. There's the human side of this, which is that a really good editorial team, probably most of them are going to decide to find new jobs. I mean, this is the editor-in-chief, former editor of Time Magazine. My friend on Elemental was the #2 editor at Real Simple. Like, these are, and they, everyone has a pedigree like that. These are incredibly talented editors who I think will find new jobs. I sort of see them needing to find new jobs in the whole context of the media industry, which is like, there's actually one of the editors told me, how is Medium like any other media company? It's like, I show up, I do good work, then they lay us off, right? Like, that's every media job. And that's sad. The media industry is really struggling. And it would be nice if, Medium could break out and be, a better place, but it's just not there yet. But no one is really there. So, I think that's the thing, is that's sort of kind of the messy part of it. But in terms of for us as the writers, for us as partners, as publishers, all of us listening who are on the platform side, I don't think it changes very much. Like, it still goes back to, what is it going to take to make the subscription? And if you read into everything that's been written, both what Ev wrote and what The Verge wrote, it's just kind of like, it keeps popping up. These publications weren't driving subscribers. And, and so everyone's looking for the controversy and sort of like dancing around this core issue, which is they weren't driving subscribers. And I think, honestly, there's two reasons. I think that starting a publication is different than running a publication. And I think this is sort of, what is the responsibility of these editors and these publications to figure out how to be subscription worthy. And probably a lot of these editors don't want to figure that out, because that's not and that's fine, but that's not their expertise. Their expertise is, being a great editor at a publication that already figured it out. Yeah. I think being an entrepreneur kind of sucks, to be honest, because there's so much uncertainty and so much failure. And most people, a lot of people have the option to take jobs where they never fail, or they fail much more rarely. And, my job as a longtime entrepreneur has been, I'm almost always wrong. And the world tells me that nearly every day, But then every now and then, I'm chasing these times when I'm right. And that's just kind of a different emotional journey. And not everyone wants it. And I think that's why it's a buyout. Like, it wasn't a layoff, it was a buyout. It's like, if you're not up for this, you need to leave. And I think that's fair. And then I think it's also, everyone is a little bit mystified. Why wasn't Medium able to drive more traffic to some of these things? And I think as publishers, sometimes we feel even like our best stuff gets really diluted. Like, the readers that we think should be seeing a piece are seeing other pieces instead. And I think something is off there but so it's probably like both sides kind of feel it a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's, we're in the same position we were in, 2 days ago. What can we do that's subscription worthy? And I just see, like, I know, because I'm involved in places where Medium is spending money, I just see it as like a change in their budget. Like, they move money from here to here. And so in that way, it's slightly positive. Like, the more, we're not competing with people that weren't really driving the subscription, but we're getting a lot of the money. And so now a bunch of money is freed up. And if we can outperform them, that's money that, we all can go try to grab.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe just to make it really clear, because I have my opinion on that, and I know you might have your opinion on that too. And I saw that question quite often since yesterday. A lot of people are wondering if that whole announcement now means that publications are going to be less important, and if writers should start self-publishing. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I think publications still matter. Well, first of all, a thing that I feel like I learned from your group is the publications are a big part of the relational model on Medium. Like, you're a writer all alone. Who's the first person that's going to acknowledge you? It's going to be a publication, right? The publications help define the ladder for you to, like, climb up as a writer. Can I get into this publication? And those are the first stepping stones to, I say, like, write with a book in mind, but then you got to walk the path. And these publications kind of provide that path. And I'm always, it really impresses me how happy authors are when they do get accepted. And we have a whole channel on our Slack of author feedback that we only post the positive stuff. But it's like it's a constant reminder to us, like, there's a reason to treat authors well, because they're like, they put their ego at risk, right? And you put your heart out there, and you want some positive feedback, and you want to be treated with respect. And we're trying to do that because, like, we know it's emotionally hard. And so and then also along the way, it's a chance to help people get better and better, and we think that's really important too. So publications are staying for sure. Commissioning just doesn't work on Medium right now. Like, you can't pay $500 for an article and expect that article to make $500.
Are you still doing that at Better Humans right now?
We cut way back. We had already cut way back a couple weeks ago. When we signed our deal originally, it did look like it was going to work, but then I think it worked because we were one of the only publishers in the partner program. And so, like, we got all the page views. And it's not quite big enough to support that level of writing now. And so, but we're hungry for what is the, high quality. And again, generally the highest quality writing had some other reason to exist, the most expensive part of good writing often is the research. And this is why originally we like publishing coaches, is because they already got paid to do the research. Like, the client paid them to work together, and through that they learned something really interesting. And so the research is already done and paid for, and then they just have to write it up. So
yeah, really interesting. And I mean, for me, I have always published with publications. I've always seen publications as my business partner, kind of. I will not self-publish just because I think that it's really powerful to tap into the audience of publications.
Yeah.
I love, having different publications for different topics. I believe that in the privately owned publications, so not the medium-owned ones, will probably have an even nicer time now if they cut back on the medium-owned ones, because it just didn't drive the subscriptions.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to point out here that the announcement doesn't mean go self-publish and publications are going to die. So that's definitely not the message here. And as you said at the beginning, it's the whole announcement doesn't mean that there's going to be a huge change now for us at the publication or writer side. It's probably more an internal debate that actually doesn't change that much for us as creators anyway. They had to make it public, so just keep that in mind and keep doing the best that you can.
Yeah.
Before we dive into a few questions that we have in the comment section, I actually wanted to talk about Moneyball, because that's a really interesting thing for writers too. And would you give us a brief introduction into what Moneyball is and how it helps writers?
So we were talking earlier about how publications should have a side business, right? And I'm a programmer originally, and I like to build software. And as a group, a publishing group, we're pretty entrepreneurial. And so we were looking at what's the tool that we could build to help ourselves as publishers and writers, and what's the tool that could help authors. And so we have in beta, and you could sign up for right now, maybe we'll put in the comments, this app called Moneyball, which is specifically targeted to help you make more money on Medium. And the URL is usemoneyball.com. And perfect. So if you're on the beta list, we'll invite you in as soon as we're able to. But the number one thing is that Medium stats are not built for money. For page views aren't what you get paid on. You get paid on member reading time. This is an acronym we use all the time, MRT. We have estimates on what you get paid per hour of member reading time. We have all of this data that we started to collect together, but we couldn't answer simple questions like what's our, which tags get the highest average member reading time, which authors, traditionally do well. What is the average, what does the average article make? Just really basic stuff we couldn't answer. And so we started pulling in our own stats and building our own kind of analytics to get smarter at publishing and focusing on what does well on the Medium platform. And I know it can't be the whole answer. You can't write purely off of the analytics, but it's this huge prompt for realizing, oh, these authors do better for us. Actually, we're always trying new authors, but if you publish 5 times for us, we're going to know what your average, earnings are. And if none of your articles do well, we're going to stop working with you. And that's a level of intelligence we didn't have before.
Do you analyze the data from the better publications?
Yeah, and we have our own data in there, and more, we're starting to let individual authors in and bring their own data in, so that you could look at, if you've published 100 articles, what are the trends that tell you what's working for you and what's not working for you. And I think the reason we haven't opened it up to everyone is we feel like there's got to be a little bit more for a new writer, a little bit more suggesting of like where to start. These look like promising places to start. But yeah, I think that kind of optimizing your writing, it didn't seem like that was possible, and didn't seem like Medium was rushing to make that possible. So we've been building this tool and using it a lot ourselves to be more optimized, and also sometimes to be optimized for things that Medium doesn't care about. Like, here's the other big question for us, which is, what are our SEO hits? Like, what articles are getting Google traffic? It's almost impossible to see that without downloading all the data yourself. So like, that's a big thing too, where we see value in SEO hits, even if Medium doesn't pay for them. And so I want to be able to see that too. So all of that kind of intelligence. There's that's the goal. I mean, the goal is to help you make more money. Honestly, it has a pretty straightforward goal. And we're working on it. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. So would you say that in the best case, or the best benefit for someone using Moneyball is if they have already published a certain number of articles, and preferably with the better publications? Or does it work similarly well for any other?
We won't release it until it works for everyone. But so it's like, are you intending to write often for Medium?
Okay.
Once a week, right? It's sort of, as long as you're writing once a week or more, then I think those are writers that are serious enough to want to be optimizing their efforts. And it doesn't take that much to get paid back. I think we're charging like a $10 subscription right now. Yeah, but and like all serious authors, which I think obviously everyone in your group is a serious author. And in the beginning, you want help and guidance, and we can give you that. And then when you're like you, with a huge back catalog, then there's even more insight and guidance that we can give you.
Sure. Awesome. I just saw 3 questions by Olha that we might quickly answer before we finish up. So the first one is, do you plan to start new, better publications in the future? Is there anything in the works that you want to mention?
No, I think what I would like to do is help other people start publications. So hopefully he says yes, but I just help Medium make an offer to the In Plain English publisher to start an additional In Plain English. Like, he does JavaScript in plain English. There's another one in that vein that we want to do. Like, I don't want to be the platform. I mean, I'm not, but like, I want the things that I care about to do well, because the overall platform succeeds. And so I want to, help other people start stuff, and help the Pragmatic programmers come on board. There's a couple more programming publications that fill gaps that we don't already do. I mean, that's the thing that I kind of learned from the Owned and Operated, is like, they started publications that competed with stuff that was already here. And I was like, why are you doing this? This is, for the ones that I'm trying to get started on Medium, I'm just trying to fill gaps so that, the subscription can be more, it's like, we should all grow together. And I definitely will be involved in that sort of activity, but I don't expect more than 3 betters ever.
Awesome. Talking about publishing platforms, did you see that announcement that Facebook is working on a publishing platform?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell on these things. Are they serious? I don't think it's not something I see as really mattering. I don't know. Because probably they're not that serious. And so it's like, does there need to be an independent bundle of publications that are independent of these major platforms? Yes. Is Medium the best position to be that? Yes. So how big will it be? Sometimes, what the competitors do kind of defines how big will it be. Like I look at Substack and I think Substack has to pivot. I said I don't like the word pivot sometimes, but I think they have to pivot. They either have to pivot towards Medium, in which case they're kind of bribing more authors onto their platform and maybe helping to bundle, or they have to pivot away from Medium and maybe towards ConvertKit or MailChimp, where they're providing more of the tools for the authors to build their own audience. But either you're bundling together to kind of grow together, which is what Medium allows, or you're building the tools to help someone grow independently. And, Substack's under a lot of pressure because they're spending money that they don't make back. These payments, these $250,000 payments they've been giving out to authors, they don't make that money back. Like that's all like burning investor money. And then they're under pressure too from Twitter, because Twitter bought their big competitor and dropped the price on it. And so it's like, I just think like they're going to have to change. So if they pivot towards Medium, then maybe Medium ends up not succeeding as big, but I still think it'll succeed. And so these are the things that I can't control, and so I don't worry too much about them.
Do you think there is a tendency for Substack? Do you think it's going to be towards Medium or towards ConvertKit, MailChimp, more email tool?
Towards Medium. I mean, that's like I think I think that's it's bad business. I know the economic, like what Medium aspires to be and what like MailChimp aspires to be. Like email marketing is just like that world is bigger. So like, I think it's a potentially bigger business, but it seems to me that Substack wants to be a publishing platform, and
that's interesting.
They'll probably pivot.
I have never seen Substack as a Medium competition. I never understood these articles and videos comparing Substack and Medium. For me, it's like totally different use case. Also, like if you have a totally different, case on Medium versus on Substack. You have different benefits. It's just, you cannot really compare it. So it's interesting to hear that side of the game.
Well, I would 100% start on Medium and not on Substack. I mean, this idea of building an audience from scratch, do you know how hard that is? It's just like the help with distribution is a killer feature. Is so powerful, and that's what Medium does. And we don't get distributed every time, but there's a lot of, if I just got read by my Twitter followers, I would never write. That's not nearly a big enough audience to justify, like a really high quality article. And so Medium does something that is really hard to do on your own. And Substack right now, I think only works for people that are willing to do that on their own. And that's really hard, honestly.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree. I always say that, like I've been, looking into online business, online marketing, how to reach an audience for the past 4 years now. I have never seen a platform similar to me that gives you a similar reach to Medium. I mean, on most other platforms, you have to pay to reach an audience. Medium pays you to reach an audience. It's just, you need to look at it that way. It's crazy. And
and it's win-win. And that's what's weird is like Substack right now is paying people, but not making a profit on that payment. And so it's like Medium is paying you to give you an audience, and you're getting this great benefit. And also you can kind of rely on them because they're also getting a benefit. And this is like the most fundamental rule of business. If all partners aren't winning, then it's not a stable partnership. And this is why I've always felt so calm being on Medium, is I could tell when I was in a win-win relationship with them, and that I wasn't just burning, their investor money on some wishful thinking. And this is like, the press coverage of Medium is often quite different than this, but like I'm looking at the numbers and I see like, all right, I made money, the author made money, Medium made money, the reader seems really happy with the article. This is great. This is amazing.
Sure. Yeah. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. We are already live for more than an hour. I just saw that. Thank you so much for taking so much time. Do you have any final words that you want to share with the audience?
Oh,
No,
luck.
okay, then make sure to check out Moneyball. So if you're a writer, if you want to get an in-depth look into your stats, if you're writing, publishing once a week, you said at least, that might be a really interesting opportunity for you to understand your own, statistics behind the scenes. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for being part of the group. Thank you for the session. I really appreciate that. And it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, this was so much fun. And yeah, maybe that's the parting words, is like, just keep being part of this Facebook group, because it's really powerful. And, I'll keep showing up, even though I'm supposed to have other things I'm going to do. Because I want to be helpful too. But more than that, I learn a lot from all of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this community, and to be, I want to be a good actor in the community. So, thank you thank you in all directions.
Amazing. Thank you all for watching this, and see you in the community. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.